Now back to the morning roast with Bonte Hill and Joe Shasky. Take it away, Bonte.
You think Steph's out there listening?
Yeah, he is.
Probably thinking these two nut jobs arguing over Jimmy Garoppolo.
Hey, Parity, when are you having the surgery?
See, here you go, Shasky. Radio Bonte will go off on Jimmy Garoppolo. Television Bonte, Jimmy Garoppolo did a lot of great things.
Here's a 3-minute montage on Jimmy Garoppolo.
And you know what? Kyle Shanahan wasn't right for his in-season presser saying he doesn't see any scenario in which he can come back. Garoppolo deserved a little more respect. Radio Bonte, if you're going to shoot it up, you should have went to the Super Bowl. What a day. All right. Shout out to YouTube, Twitch, the
hey,
Mobile Text
Jimmy, I know you're about your money, but can you be our emergency quarterback?
We did watch him walk out the sideline, walk out the tunnel with those fresh J's. I remember seeing him and then Trey Lance 3 feet behind him with the walking boot. We're like, damn, Trey's still in the boot. Anyway, Sam Amick, our good friend, man, has been covering the NBA for 2 decades.
You know what? I'm going to let it pause. Just get Sam Amick in here.
Let's get Sam Amick in here and break it up.
Sam, should Jimmy Garoppolo have suited up in the game if he was able to? We've been arguing about it all morning. If you are physically able to suit up, Bonte thinks you should be playing in that game no matter what. What do you think?
By the way, hold on. Before you say something, Sam, just want to let everybody know Sam Amick is joining us on the Bud Light guest line. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Go ahead, answer away, Sam.
Gentlemen, good morning. I don't know. I'll say this much. I feel bad for Jimmy. That, can you imagine being in a workplace where if you smile at the wrong time, like he did when the cameras were on him, and the whole world decides that they're going to read your mind and they think that you're somehow reveling in the fact that the Niners are going down in a blaze of glory. And to me, that's a little rough. And no, I think, listen, Jimmy was more than patient enough considering how many times the Niners tried to send him out. He did his part, man. He didn't need to put his body on the like that.
Thank you, Sam.
While
we're at it, let's go back and get mad at Andrew Bogut for not playing in the 2013 Game 7 against the Clippers because he had a broken rib.
You know what?
He wasn't tough enough.
Sam, you know what? I'm going to revoke your football pass for now, man. We're going to talk some NBA. I love you, Sam. No, hey, Sam, let's talk some Warriors here. They're up in Portland to take on the Blazers, and we know Steph Curry is going to be out for a few weeks. Do you believe the Warriors had any? I don't know if they're going to make a deal or not. They haven't made many deals under Bob Myers and Steve Kerr. Deadline is tomorrow at 12 noon Pacific time. Do you think that Steph Curry injury altered their plans at the trading deadline?
I don't. The sense I get is it's pretty much the same as it was before. And really, it's just like a more tenuous version of the same formula, if that makes any sense at all. Like this team, they already knew that can we, get to the playoffs and then rediscover our identity and then shock the world again. Well, they were hoping to start doing that now and have momentum going into the playoffs. Now with Steph's injury, it becomes like, an absolute, kind of edge of your seat type of situation where they got to do it later in the year. I don't think it changes what they're willing to put on the table asset-wise. The thing that I'm curious about, and I did check on it yesterday, is, as of yesterday, late, they didn't have anything going on the James Wiseman front. And I didn't, this part I didn't honestly know to this degree when our John Hollinger wrote that, you're talking about $130 million in savings if you trade Wiseman based on the luxury tax implications. That's enough for me to say, like, all right, I'm curious today, tomorrow, if anything goes on with Wiseman, but I'm, probably going to be fairly quiet for them, I think.
And that's if they acquire an expiring contract, correct?
Correct.
Yes, because they need that money to come off the books because they're in the repeater tax. I look at the Wiseman thing and I feel like, kind of like Jimmy Garoppolo, like we're pointing at him and we're scapegoating him for a lot of the flaws of where the veterans are falling short. Because my biggest problem with this team right now is closing games with their top 6, 7 guys. I feel like that's one of the biggest issues, not, 8 minutes from James Wiseman per night. What do you think their biggest problem is?
Yeah, I mean, the defensive, absolute, kind of backtracking this year compared to last year is a major problem. The Jordan Poole mediocrity, if you will, for far too much of the year and kind of that inability for them to develop a chemistry. I mean, he'll show out when Steph is out, which is really important. But, when they are fully whole, they got to find a way, for them to complement one another. Clay still finding his way on the defensive end. I think there's a lot that goes into it. They got to find a way for the others, as Shaq always likes to call them, to be at their best. The DiVincenzo's and the JaMychal Greens, and that to me is going to be really important because this team, even with all the star power left, however many years, has been a strength in numbers type of culture, and they got to get back to that. So, I think maybe we hear them tied to Matisse Thybulle a little bit.
Ooh.
Can they get something done there? I think another body on the wing defensively would be helpful,
Right.
but I don't see any high-profile stuff happening.
Man, Sam Amick, senior NBA writer, been covering the league for over 2 decades. Great dude, knows the league inside and out. And Thybulle, I always think, Sam, why would Philadelphia give up on him, man?
Yeah.
They're
It's
loaded.
a nice piece.
Yeah, it's a nice piece for them in the Eastern Conference playoffs, especially when you got to play Boston or Milwaukee when they have all those wing players. Sam, when we look at the Golden State Warriors and you look at the Western Conference, is Parity good in the NBA? I wonder because you have all these teams with 26 losses and 27 losses, but I always like to have a dominant team, a couple dominant teams where the league can kind of kind of form around. Do you think Parity's good for the NBA? Or because to me, it feels like it's just a lot of mediocre basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it personally. I don't know, I'll start there, I guess, as
Right.
far as my own reaction to it. I like seeing all these fan bases still have hope. When you turn the games on every single night, there's more meaning attached to all of them. And, usually this time of year, especially Warriors fans know this, from a viewing standpoint, you're on cruise control. Like, all right, it's fun to win every night, but, wake me up when it's May type of mentality. I actually, I heard Bob Myers' interview on your guys' station recently where Bob gave his opinion that he's a fan of greatness. You could tell that, Bonte, I think he's probably closer to your side
Right.
opinion-wise on this.
Right.
I appreciate both. If it was parity every single year, that'd probably get old. I enjoyed the hell out of covering the Warriors and their greatness, and even some of the Spurs teams before that. In terms of my career, a real pleasure to see that kind of greatness, what San Antonio built, and the longevity, and learning a lot about what it takes to sustain that kind of operation for as long as they did. So, I think probably parity every single year for an extended period wouldn't be the best, but I think this year's fun.
Last night, LeBron James breaks Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record for most points in the NBA. And Bonte and I were kicking around just, he was a phenom. We remember watching his high school game with Dick Vitale and all of the woulda, coulda, shouldas. And I think there's a big argument to be made. He's overachieved, which is one of the most incredible sentences that I've ever uttered. But yet I feel like he's had a remarkable career, Sam. And I don't even have a question here. How do you view LeBron James?
He has. First of all, when you said you remember watching his high school game, I thought you were talking Kareem. I was going to say, damn, boy.
No, that'd be my dad.
No, it's been incredible. It's funny. I was at his first game in Sacramento, and I always have this funny memory that's nostalgic now, where the late, great Marty McNeil was a longtime basketball writer, used to cover the Kings, a friend of mine, approaches LeBron after all the media had finally dissipated. And this is, an extremely young LeBron, and he tried to get a little extra time with him. And LeBron's a kid at the time. He kind of turns to Marty, and you could tell he hadn't figured out, how to move at all with all the spotlights all the time. And he kind of looked at Marty and was like, hey, man, I'm done doing media for the night. And at first, I was like, oh, man, this kid's he's pretty full of himself. And that was, first impression. But you're like, all right, hell of a player. To see him go from the child who was on the cover of Sports Illustrated as the chosen one to a guy who, and this doesn't get said enough, do you understand how incredibly hard it is to be in this spotlight for this long and to not have the wrong kinds of headlines?
Sam, he doesn't have a traffic ticket.
No. And to be honest, not to go too far afield, we reported the other day on this unfortunate incident with Ja Morant out in Memphis and some post-game stuff that happened with him and his friends. Yeah. And it had me thinking about that's the typical thing. Young stars have a hard time not getting off the track a little bit. And LeBron has been, that guy. And then basketball wise, it's remarkable. I mean, people have their opinions of him. Some people just don't like him, but he's one of one. And it was fun to see last night. I give Kareem a ton of credit for the grace that he showed, because we know no one really wants to talk about it right now. Their dynamic hasn't always been the best. When LeBron had a few things to say about the vaccine, Kareem came at him pretty hard. But they put all that stuff aside, and they gave the sports world a pretty neat moment. It was fun to watch.
Sam Amick here on the Bud Light guest line. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Last one for you, Sam. I know you got to get out here and make some moves happen. But who's the best bet to be the surprise team that makes a big move before tomorrow's NBA trade deadline?
I mean, it's not a shock. The ones that I love like this group of teams that are pretty desperate right now, and somebody's going to do something. And I'm talking like Memphis, Phoenix, the Clippers, and the Lakers. Those to me come to mind because they all envision themselves, and you laugh if you want, but the Lakers planned on winning a championship.
Right.
And they all have assets and they all have desperation. We saw the curtain get pulled back a little bit when they all went chasing Kyrie, and it's like that told you everything you needed to know about the level of desperation. Mm-hmm. And so now instead of Kyrie, I don't think Kevin Durant is asking out this week, so I don't think Kevin's going anywhere. Who knows, but I don't think that's the case. So then it becomes like OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, maybe the Chicago guys, Zach LaVine.
Right.
Could they let go of Zach? But those teams are really thirsty, and because of the parity that we talked about before, they feel like things are wide open, and now might be the time to strike, and that could make for a really interesting couple days.
No doubt about that. Sam Amick, one of the best out there in the business, been covering the league for 2 decades, senior NBA writer. Sam, finally, I've been talking about this a long time. Good to have you back on the roast, man. It's been way too long.
Thank you, Bonte. Appreciate you guys. You have a great one. Thank you.
No doubt. Sam Amick, one
such
of the
a
best
gentleman.
in the business. He is
so classy.
He is classy.
And he agrees with me on the Jimmy Garoppolo thing.
Well,